Coming up, a full comparison and breakdown of all the character meals inside Epcot and the nearby Crescent Lake Resort area. Disney presents
Beyond the Kingdoms. Hello everyone, and welcome back to this week's main show of Beyond the Kingdoms. If you missed my post on social media, you're probably wondering why there was no show last week, and I was out of town enjoying my anniversary with my husband on a non-Disney related vacation. And I just want to say thank you to all of you who reached out and wrote some comments on my social media platforms wishing a happy anniversary to us both. It was really, really sweet of you guys to do that, and it really touched me. So thank you very much. But I'm back today, and we're tackling a topic that I've done in the past, but felt it could have been improved upon. So today, I'm taking you through 4 different character meals inside Epcot and the nearby hotels, and giving you a brief rundown on how each one works, and a comparison of pros and cons at each one of them. So let's jump right in. Epcot and the nearby resort area is host to 4 different character meals. 2 are inside the park itself, and the remaining 2 are inside the hotels. Oddly enough, some of these restaurants only offer a character meal at breakfast, so today I'm going to be talking a lot about the most important meal of the day. The first character meal in the park is Garden Grill, inside the Land Pavilion located in Future World West. Garden Grill is host to Chippendale's Harvest Feast and offers a family-style all-you-can-eat meal at breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Over in World Showcase, we have Akershus Royal Banquet Hall in Norway. This is the one character meal in this area dedicated exclusively to Disney princesses, and similar to Garden Grill, allows guests to dine with Disney characters for all 3 meals of the day. Outside of the park and over at Disney's Beach Club, we have Cape May Cafe, which is home to Minnie's Beach Bash Breakfast, a character meal featuring almost all of the Fab Five in the morning hours only. And finally, the newest character meal addition to this area is inside Trattoria al Forno at Disney's Boardwalk. This is where you'll find the Bon Voyage Adventure Breakfast, a character meal that offers the rare chance to dine with some princesses with their princes, but only in the morning hours. All of the character meals mentioned today have a full written review detailing my entire experience on the Beyond the Kingdoms website. So today, I'm just going to give you a brief overview of each one, but specifically compare the 4 to each other, and find out which one is best depending on your expectations and preferences. So let's start with the newest of the 4, Bon Voyage Adventure Breakfast at the Boardwalk. Now, I experienced this character meal completely on my own during the opening weekend of this year's Flower and Garden Festival. I will admit to you that I went into this with low expectations. It was my final one to experience of the 4, and the only one that is not a typical buffet or all-you-can-eat situation. So, I thought I would dislike the food here. Trattoria al Forno is a beautiful restaurant that serves Italian cuisine for dinner. Breakfast is a typical American menu with a little bit of an Italian flair. The restaurant is big, a huge dining room with dark wooden paneling throughout. There's also an impressive show kitchen here that at night I'm sure is way more fun to watch, especially the pizza stove. And if you arrive early, check out the family photographs in the waiting area. It provides a fun backstory that shows how the family business has grown over the years. Now, food here is very different from the other character meals. Each table will start with a skillet of pastries. This is the portion of the meal that is somewhat all you can eat because you can ask for more. But then there is an a la carte menu for your main course. Technically, there are 2 menus, one that is themed to the character meal and one that is not. My waiter specifically recommended 2 dishes for me, and I went for the King Triton's Shipwreck al Forno, a breakfast calzone filled with eggs, sausage, and bacon, but served in a pool of tomato sauce. Other menu options include a variety of omelets, poached eggs, and even steak and eggs if you want a really big meal. In terms of characters, you will always meet the same set of 4 here. Rapunzel accompanied by Flynn, and Ariel along with Prince Eric. Now here's my list of pros at this specific character meal. The traditional lineup of Disney princesses can be found at several character meals and also at character meet and greet locations within the parks themselves. But meeting their male counterparts is something you don't get to do every day. In fact, the only other time you can meet Flynn up close and get autographs or pose for pictures is at Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party when he joins Rapunzel inside Princess Fairy Tale Hall. In recent years, Eric has done the same thing, joining Ariel outside of her grotto at both the Christmas and Halloween party. Therefore, if you're not attending these special events, this is the only other way to add their autographs to your book. Another plus side to this character meal is that it's not a buffet. I know that this is rare, but I immediately thought of my husband here, because he doesn't really particularly like to overindulge in American-style buffets. I know it's not common, but I think for some very specific people, they may like the change up of pace with this offering. Finally, this one is one of the easier character meals to get a reservation for. Now, like any character meal, I will definitely tell you not to wait until the last minute to book this. But I found the restaurant not to be completely full, and I easily scored a reservation only a couple of weeks before my trip. Granted, I was dining alone, and I know that makes things easier, but I've heard similar stories from other family members, usually traveling in groups of 4. Now for the downside. This is the only character meal of this specific set of 4 that I found not to offer the best amount of meeting time. This dining room is huge, and since you can see the entire room, it can feel like forever till the characters get to you. At all the other experiences in this area, I often got to meet one, if not all the characters twice. This was simply not the case at Trattoria al Forno. I only met these characters one time throughout my meal. However, once they did come, the quality of the interaction itself was fantastic. Secondly, the price. I know that most of the character meals can feel a little bit expensive. Remember, you're paying to have a meal and meet characters at the same time. A big time saver on a Disney vacation. This is the one of the 4 that I really felt the sticker shock. Mainly because I experienced this one last and the price was equal to almost all of the other buffets. I was lucky enough to make a good choice with my entree because it was huge, and I did leave as full as I did at the all-you-can-eat options. But still, I think that most will really feel the hit of the price here. Finally, I must admit that this is a difficult restaurant to get to if you're not staying in this area, and especially so if you're not traveling with your own car. If you're relying on Disney transportation, you may find that you'll have to get to Hollywood Studios and then transfer to a boat to get to the boardwalk. Using an Uber or minifan will be the more direct option, but obviously that comes at an extra price. So in the end, this is best for a group staying at the boardwalk or even the Yacht and Beach Club or Swan and Dolphin, and perfect for people who don't want the extravagance or fuss of a big buffet. And this restaurant is best to pair up with the Day in World Showcase if you're splitting Epcot into 2 days. Remember, the back half of Epcot doesn't open until 11, so this could give you a good jumpstart on some of the countries in the back of the lagoon before the regular crowds get there. The Bon Voyage Adventure Breakfast at Trattoria al Forno is usually priced around $38 for adults and $25 for kids, and it qualifies as 1 table service credit on the dining plan. Let's next jump across Crescent Lake and head on over to Disney's Beach Club. Inside Cape May Cafe, you'll find Minnie's Beach Breakfast Bash, a character meal only offered in the morning, featuring Minnie, of course, along with Goofy and Donald, and sometimes Daisy. I've dined at this one twice in the last 6 months, and I found my experience to be very consistent both times. Now, this restaurant is considerably smaller than Trattoria al Forno, but it's still very open given that a hallway wraps around the entire restaurant. Guests walking between Yacht and Beach Club can get a full look inside the restaurant. But don't worry, it still feels very quiet and secluded. The decor reflects the resort's theme nicely, a turn-of-the-century beachside resort with charming accents of simpler times with the framed vintage bathing suits and croquet mallets. The food here is served buffet style, meaning that you're gonna go up and plate your own food as opposed to being served family style by a server. The buffet itself is a square island right in the middle of the restaurant, which means the flow of traffic is very easy. No matter where you sit, you'll get good access to the food. I found that the menu here offers the most range of the 4 mentioned today. Each time I went, I discovered something new. Some unique staples that I've only found here include the peaches and cream pancakes, a corned beef hash with a fried egg wrapped in bacon, grilled asparagus with hollandaise sauce on the side, just to mention a few. Of course, you'll still find traditional favorites such as scrambled eggs, sausage, bacon, on top of fresh fruit, cereal, an omelet station, and a decent pastry section right at the entrance to the restaurant. I've already mentioned a few good highlights, but here are some more pros to this character meal. I found this to be a good and cheaper alternative to Chef Mickey's at the Contemporary. Cape May Cafe almost offers a superior range of food to Chef Mickey's, and doesn't quite reach the same high price point. And it still offers classic characters like Goofy, Donald, and Minnie. Like the Bon Voyage breakfast, again, I found this to be an easier restaurant to get a reservation for, because both times I dined here, it seemed empty enough that you could even do a walk-up if it wasn't peak season. But let's now look at some of the cons. Again, location is awkward here if you're not staying at one of these hotels, and traveling without a car. Getting that backdoor entrance to Epcot can be really handy, but getting here via Disney buses in the morning could be a challenge. Another downside that I discovered, specifically at this restaurant, is my own personal realization that I prefer family-style buffets where the food is brought to the table. Now, family style usually does mean that you're going to sacrifice the range of food, but I find that if you have toddlers and trying to get pictures and serve yourself food, timing could be very difficult. I enjoyed the idea of sitting down to relax, my food being brought to my table, and characters coming at their own pace, and never missing a moment of the interactions. After all, that is what it's all about. Most importantly, an aspect that can be a deal breaker here for some is that Mickey Mouse does not appear. In other cases, I would say just go into the park after your meal and meet Mickey on his own. You'll still knock out several characters in one meal, but at Epcot, meeting Mickey at the character spot currently means that you'll also meet Minnie and Goofy too. So it can feel a little redundant doing this and a waste of time, especially seeing that the wait at the character spot can easily hit 45 minutes. And who wants to waste a Tier 1 Epcot Fast Pass when you already have to choose between Test Track, Soarin', and Frozen? Therefore, I think this restaurant is best for those families who are willing to meet Mickey elsewhere and really crave a range of food items. If you want a change up of the typical eggs, bacon, and sausage, this is definitely the character breakfast for you. And again, like Bon Voyage breakfast, this restaurant can work really well when pairing it up with a day dedicated only to World Showcase. It's a very easy walk to France from here, even with a stroller. Minnie's Beach Breakfast Bash at Cape May Cafe is usually priced just like the previous restaurant at $38 for adults and $23 for kids, and it qualifies as one table service credit on the Disney dining plan. Next, we're jumping into Epcot itself and heading to Future World West. Inside the Land Pavilion, you'll find Garden Grill, which features Chippendale Harvest Feast at breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And a little side note here is that lunch and dinner features the same exact menu and price. Every time I've walked past this restaurant en route to Soarin', I wondered how good the experience really was. And I must say that now, this is one of my favorites at Disney World. Very underrated and exceptionally good at breakfast. This restaurant is actually on a revolving turntable and offers a unique bird's eye view of some show scenes inside the Living with the Land boat ride. Now, it is slow moving, so you'll only probably experience one full rotation during your meal. And as you eat, Mickey pays a visit in his special farmer outfit, along with Pluto and of course Chippendale. In terms of food, this place is no huss, no fuss, but you will leave absolutely full. Unlike Cape May Cafe, food is served family style here, and you can have more of whatever you like a second time around. At breakfast, you'll be greeted with an enormous cinnamon roll that is absolutely delicious. If you do manage to resist going for the sweet stuff first, you'll be served a basic sampling of eggs, bacon, sausage, Mickey waffles, and more. But it is really all about that sticky bun cinnamon roll. For lunch and dinner, you'll start with dinner rolls and a seasonal salad, featuring ingredients grown inside the greenhouses themselves. And yes, they do taste exceptionally fresh and clean. Your main course features a skillet with 3 types of meat, usually pot roast, turkey breast, and pork, along with mashed potatoes, green beans, stuffing, cranberry sauce, roasted vegetables, mac and cheese, and french fries. It's a lot of food. And if you can still stomach it, you'll be served a mixed berry shortcake for dessert. It's just as good as that cinnamon roll. One major pro at this restaurant is that you can usually book an 8 a.m. reservation for breakfast, meaning on most days when Epcot opens at 9, you'll get to enter a virtually empty park and dine a full hour before the park officially opens. If you opt for something like Test Track for a Fast Pass reservation, you can easily enjoy Soarin' Around the World standby right after breakfast, just before the crowds get to the pavilion. Secondly, I really love this layout. The circular dining room means that kids really won't see the characters coming. With young toddlers, this comes in handy when they put up a fight to eat their food, because they can easily get distracted and excited to see Mickey. The layout also makes this restaurant one of the quieter meals and more mellow restaurants. If anyone in your group gets overwhelmed with sensory overload, this restaurant could work really well. Third, I must mention that breakfast specifically here is usually the cheapest option if you're considering to do a dining package at one of Epcot's festival concerts. If seeing Candlelight Processional during Festival of the Holidays is important to you, this is your most cost-effective option to get reserved seating for the show. Now for the bad side. The range is very limited. This restaurant is all about quantity. Yes, you will leave full, but if you're a picky eater and want something different, this may not work well for you. And I find this to be a little bit of a bummer at Epcot, where there is so much range of cuisine. I also find that this restaurant can really work against you at breakfast if you're visiting during a festival like Food and Wine. You'll leave so full that you may not be able to stomach as much food around World Showcase during the event. I personally like to enjoy a light breakfast during Food and Wine so I can sample as many of the food booths as possible. Garden Grill will leave very little room in your stomach for more food intake. Finally, I guess this specific lineup of characters is not as exciting as others. It's usually pretty easy to meet characters like Pluto and Chippendale inside the parks on the fly. These guys are classic, but not as sought after as princesses. All in all, Garden Grill is best for those looking to fill up on food and save money by possibly skipping another meal in the day. When you've got mouths to feed and want happy bellies, this is the place to go, especially if you have picky eaters who want something very familiar. This is classic American comfort food at a restaurant that is much quieter to most character meal locations. Breakfast at Garden Grill is usually priced at $38 for adults and $23 for kids. At lunch and dinner, the price is usually around $52 for adults and $31 for kids. It qualifies as 1 table service credit on the dining plan and 2 table service credits if you're opting for a dining package with a reserved viewing spot for a concert. Finally, we have the Mac Daddy of the 4, Akershus Royal Banquet Hall at the Norway Pavilion in World Showcase. This is inside the castle-looking building located on the right side of the pavilion, nearby the entrance to Frozen Ever After. This character meal is all about Disney princesses and offered at breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Now, I've only experienced breakfast here, so if you've dined here for lunch or dinner, feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments below. But I did do breakfast at the very start of 2019 during the opening weekend of Festival of the Arts, when crowds were exceptionally low at the park. I'll admit, I went into this one also with very low expectations, but left absolutely loving it. The setting is exquisite. It feels as if you're dining inside a castle, but a more authentic one, as opposed to a cartoonish Disney castle. The building itself is modeled after a real fort in Norway, and there are a variety of rooms that make this restaurant both grand and intimate at the same time. Now, specific characters can rotate and change. On this occasion, we met Belle first as we entered the restaurant and before being sat at our table. And later on, Aurora, Cinderella, Snow White, and Ariel all visited us at our table. And interesting here, in terms of food, is that breakfast is both family style and a traditional buffet. Your server will bring a plate of typical American hot breakfast items, and you can go to the buffet for more pastries, fresh fruit, yogurt, and more. Breakfast is certainly American, with only 1 or 2 items that reflect Scandinavian cuisine. The first and big pro to this dining experience is that it is a much better price alternative to Cinderella's Royal Table at Magic Kingdom. No matter how you pay, whether it's out of pocket or with the dining plan, this is a much better value experience. And since it counts as only 1 table service meal credit, it's actually one of the best uses of the dining plan. Cinderella's counts as 2 credits, and the price will usually start around $70, a good $25 more than the option here in Norway. A second plus to this character meal is that no matter if you like traditional buffet or family style coming to your table, you get the best of both worlds. If you're like me and prefer to sit and relax to enjoy your meal, you don't really have to leave your table at all to get a good amount of food. In fact, I found that only one of us really had to go up to the buffet to get a small sampling of items that everyone likes and come back to the table. That way we wouldn't miss any character meeting time. Finally, this is obviously great for princess fans who want to knock out meeting 5 characters in one go. This can save a lot of time and energy in your day throughout World Showcase, and even knock out a few options on another day at Magic Kingdom. But that does bring me to the bad side of this restaurant. The fact that characters rotate here can obviously disappoint a few guests. If you really have your heart set on someone specific, there's a very small chance you could be removed from the lineup on the day you visit. Disney won't guarantee you who will come out on specific days. However, I will say that the specific lineup I experienced here is pretty standard. I don't recall ever seeing or hearing about a princess like Mulan or Tiana ever making appearances here. So, if one of your favorites is part of the set I mentioned, chances are pretty high you'll meet her. Just know to manage your expectations. The other downside to the Royal Banquet Hall is similar to Garden Grill, in that it's not the most exciting or exotic restaurant in World Showcase. Epcot offers such a great variety of cuisines that breakfast here is kind of boring. But you're paying to meet princesses and fill the bellies of your little ones. In the end, the Royal Banquet Hall in Norway is certainly best for princess fans. If you're on the dining plan and want to stretch those credits, this is certainly a wise choice over Cinderella's Royal Table. But I know that some of you will argue that you can't beat the fairy tale setting of the castle inside Magic Kingdom. But this one is a pretty good runner-up, and this is all about the bottom line and getting value out of the plan. It's a good choice if you only got 1 day at Epcot and want to meet several princesses in a row, and this will allow you to bypass waiting in line for characters like Snow White in Germany or Aurora in France. In terms of pricing, this is the most expensive meal of the 4 featured in today's video. Breakfast will usually come out to $52 for adults and $30 for kids. Lunch and dinner will hover around $62 for adults and $38 for kids. And like I've said before, this qualifies as 1 table service credit on the plan, and if you choose to dine here with a dining package for one of those Epcot concerts, it will also count as 2 table service credits. So there you have it, friends, a full breakdown of all 4 character meals inside Epcot and the neighboring resorts in Crescent Lake. Each one is certainly good, but specific restaurants fit specific personalities. If I had to pick a top choice, I would have to say that breakfast in particular at Garden Grill is a favorite of mine, and the Royal Banquet Hall is a surprisingly good restaurant if a little one really enjoys the princesses. I would place Cape May Cafe as my next favorite, simply because it offers a good variety of dishes. And sadly, I'd have to put Trattoria al Forno in last place. It's cute, but very specific. You have to prefer a la carte over traditional buffet, and you have to be on the hunt to meet some Disney princes. Now, if you've dined at any of these locations and have your own opinions, feel free to share them in the comments below. But that will certainly have to do it for today. Thank you so much for watching, and like always, remember, if you can dream it, you can do it.